Islam Makhachev. Today, the unshakable king and ultimate champion of 2 UFC weight categories.
I'm best MMA fighter in this game.
Oh! Head kick from Makhachev! Oh! That'll do it! And still!
Pound for pound, #1 fighter on the planet.
The #1 in the pound-for-pound rankings, and one of the brightest names in the history of the sport known as MMA. A Dagestani fighter who walked in the footsteps of his friend Khabib Nurmagomedov, but who has ultimately surpassed his legacy in many ways.
We thought when we saw Khabib, right, that was the complete version of a Russian fighter. Then you see Islam and he possesses all those same skills with the striking.
Dominant takedowns, extreme strength, ground control, and the systematic bullying of opponents towards submission, but also a knockout punch and the ability to adapt to any style.
He's the most complete fighter on the roster.
His ability all across every area in mixed martial arts is second to none.
He's one of the best wrestlers in the sport. His top control and his squeeze is insane.
I'm not striker, I'm not jiu-jitsu, I'm not the wrestler, I'm a best MMA fighter right now.
Today, we look at the complete and updated story of Islam Makhachev.
So here is the undisputed UFC lightweight champion.
Islam was born in Makhachkala, but his heart and character were forged in the mountain village of Burshi. His childhood had nothing to do with modern conveniences. While children in the West spent their time at computers, Islam spent his days doing physical labor. His family ran a small farm. They grew tomatoes and raised livestock. Young Islam had to help his father with the harvest every day, carrying heavy crates full of vegetables to the car and the market. These training sessions, at an altitude of over 2,000 meters, gave him the foundational physical strength that every opponent feels in the octagon today. It was here, amidst the inhospitable mountains, that he learned discipline. When the fields needed tending, there was no such thing as, "I don't feel like it." This Dagestani nature, where work is a matter of survival and honor, later became his greatest weapon. In the southwestern corner of the Russian Federation, the Republic of Dagestan spreads across 50,000 square kilometers. On one side, it is washed by the Caspian Sea. On the other, it is guarded by high mountains. The name Dagestan translates directly from Turkish as "land of mountains." In a land of harsh nature and unfavorable financial conditions, everyone fights in their own way. In recent years, media outlets have reported on armed attacks or bombings directed against the Russian government, or citizens of Dagestan fighting in the ranks of the Islamic State. But the rest know what needs to be done. This landscape mostly shapes strongmen who fulfill their life missions through demanding daily tasks, without wondering if they feel like it today, if it's raining outside, or if they feel tired. There is a strong religious bond to Islam, an emphasis on family and brotherhood, and also on sport, which serves as a lifestyle and a remedy against drugs and terrorism. 2 of the greatest UFC champions come from exactly this environment. The first of them, Khabib Nurmagomedov, ruled the lightweight division until 2020. He retired from fighting undefeated after the sudden death of his father and coach, Abdulmanap. Khabib's legacy stopped at the number 29-0. The torch of his Dagestani predecessor was soon taken up by his brother, Islam Makhachev. Although they are not related by blood, the bond of their friendship is on a fraternal level. Both grew up in the village of Burshi, a population of 200, in humble hand-built houses at an extreme altitude. Khabib and Islam became friends at school, united by their interest in martial arts. Khabib trained in combat sambo under the supervision of his father, Abdulmanap, a former soldier. Islam started with taekwondo, but when his friend, 3 years his senior, took him to his father's gym, Islam entrusted his fate to him. At that time, he was just a young boy training alongside more experienced fighters. But the coach saw something special in him. He soon took a liking to him and gave him extra care. Abdulmanap's entire squad ran through the mountains 3 times a day, lifted stones and fallen trees, and spent the rest of their time on the mats. School did not interest them, and everyone in the area sensed that their future did not lie in academia, but in the cage. Islam soon began competing in combat sambo, just like Khabib, and both later became world champions. In 2008, Khabib started his MMA career, and Islam followed 2 years later. Both began building their now respectable records. 11 wins in their first 11 fights. That was Islam's calling card when he entered the UFC in 2015. In his debut, Makhachev challenged Leo Kuntz. He brilliantly showcased his combat sambo techniques and ground dominance until he choked his opponent out in the second round. However, in his very next duel, Islam hit a wall. Despite the tactics set by Abdulmanap, Islam stayed on his feet against Adriano Martins, engaging in exchanges that cost him dearly when he was caught by a heavy knockout in the first round. Islam lost his undefeated status, which for a long time diminished his standing in the eyes of many. On the other hand, this single career loss was the moment that predetermined his later greatness. An angry Makhachev soon realized he could only be mad at himself and began working on his overall game. He took a year-long break from fighting, during which he improved everything. Islam became not just a high-quality wrestler, but a complete martial artist. Dominant victories followed. In 2018, he watched from the corner as Khabib demolished Conor McGregor, knowing his time was coming. A major test was the duel with Arman Tsarukyan. The Armenian fighter gave Islam a hard time, but Islam showed the world he could keep pace and dominate even against elite wrestlers. After 3 rounds of a technical battle, he took the victory on points. This was followed by a series of impressive finishes against names like Drew Dober, Thiago Moises, and Dan Hooker. This period, however, was marked by tragedy: the death of Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov in October 2020. Khabib retired, and Islam had to continue without his head strategist. Khabib, however, took over his father's role and guided Islam toward a title shot. In October 2022, in Abu Dhabi, Islam stood against Charles Oliveira. Oliveira, then the king of submissions, had no answer for Islam's pressure. Makhachev dropped him with a punch in the second round and subsequently forced him to tap out. Islam completed the work of his coach Abdulmanap and, following Khabib, became the lightweight champion. In early 2023, a clash of 2 kings was arranged: Islam Makhachev versus Alexander Volkanovski. In the first, incredibly close fight in Australia, Islam won on points and took the throne of the pound-for-pound rankings.
And no! Undisputed!
9 months later, in the rematch, he left no room for doubt, finishing Volkanovski with a brutal head kick and a first-round KO.
Kick from Makhachev! That'll do it! And still! And with style points, Islam Makhachev is the man!
And all the possible endings to that fight.
Never thought that.
Never thought, like, high kick KO. Crazy.
Islam Makhachev is the best lightweight on the planet. I don't think that there is any argument. I don't know how you can say anything else.
This guy, one of the best striker in the UFC. I just show my level, you know.
After defeating Dustin Poirier in June 2024, whom he choked out in the 5th round after an exhausting battle,
Islam Makhachev with a submission in round 5! Still the best in the world at 155.
You defended your title. Now, I know that you have been talking about fighting in both 155 and possibly 170.
I want to fight for the second belt because when you defend your belt, it's not same. I need new one.
Islam continued to write history. Despite a serious hand injury, torn ligaments, that sidelined him for a time after that fight, he returned in the form of his life. In January 2025, at UFC 311, he faced Renato Moicano, who stepped in as a replacement for the injured Tsarukyan. Islam ended the fight lightning fast in the first round with a Dartse choke.
Islam Makhachev, the most decorated lightweight champion of all time!
Give us your thoughts on who you think will be the next challenger for your belt.
I like this belt. If somebody wants this belt, come to the cage.
He's the pound-for-pound best in the world right now, and he's definitely the best to ever do it in that division.
When he steps into the octagon next time, he will have the opportunity to tie Anderson Silva for the longest win streak in UFC history. That's how dominant this guy has been.
With this victory, Islam officially broke the record of his mentor, Khabib Nurmagomedov, for the number of successful title defenses in the lightweight division. While Khabib had 3, Islam had now accumulated 5, proving that his reign was even more dominant. In May 2025, Islam made a shocking decision. he relinquished the lightweight title. He declared that in the 155 pounds division, there was no longer a challenge for him and no one left to beat. He decided on a risky move, moving up to the welterweight division, 170 pounds. In November 2025, at UFC 322 in the legendary Madison Square Garden in New York, a historic moment took place. Islam Makhachev challenged the home champion, Jack Della Maddalena. After a dominant 5-round performance where he showed that the higher weight suited him, he won clearly on points. He thus became only the 11th fighter in UFC history to hold titles in 2 weight categories. He became a double champ. After the fight, Islam admitted that he feels much healthier at welterweight because he no longer has to undergo the drastic and exhausting weight cuts. Today, Islam Makhachev is the undisputed #1 on the P4P rankings. While it used to be said that the apprentice may surpass the master, today, analysts and fans openly say it has happened. Islam faced a wider spectrum of styles, defeated legends in their prime, and won a belt in a second division, something Khabib never achieved. What awaits Islam next? The plans for 2026 are grand. Fight with Kamaru Usman. Islam has let it be known that he wants to fight the former dominant legend of the welterweight division to definitively confirm his reign at this weight. Super fight with Ilia Topuria. There is constant speculation about a mega fight with featherweight champion Ilia Topuria, which could be one of the biggest draws of 2026. Privacy and legacy. For both fighters, Khabib and Islam, legacy has always mattered more than fame. Islam strictly guards his privacy. There are very few photographs of his family. He reportedly has a wife and a daughter whom he never shows publicly to protect them from the media world. The story of Islam Makhachev shows us the power of determination, brotherhood, and proper guidance. His success is an example of commitment to tradition and the legacy of Coach Abdul Manab. As an apprentice, he fulfilled his mentor's vision, became a champion, pushed the boundaries of what is possible, and today stands at the top as perhaps the greatest fighter Dagestan and the entire world of MMA has ever seen. This was the story of Islam Makhachev. If you liked the video, give it a like, subscribe, and look forward to more stories from the world of sports.